Hey everyone, welcome back. Today is May 16th of 2022. Haven't done a video on the death of a rapper in a long time, but wanted to touch on this one from over the weekend. Rapper Lil Keed from Atlanta, dying at the age of 24 over the weekend in Los Angeles. It's being reported that he died on May 13th, this past Friday. However, news of his death wasn't really circulating the mainstream outlets like CNN, Fox News, ABC until yesterday. And now still today we're seeing this article littered around the headlines. In this video we're going to talk about the numerology of this death. As Lil Keed died the same weekend as the first total lunar eclipse of the year, we'll talk about this at length. And of course, as always, we'll talk a lot about the language of Gematria, a simple language which numbers the alphabet 1 through 26. Of course, the Pythagorean method, also called reduction, an important cipher as well. And with this, we'll see the riddle behind what happened this past weekend. And as it stands right now, no one knows how Lil Keed has died. I did think it was interesting, however, that just a day or two before this happened, his record company, Young Stoner Life Records, was all over the media as they're facing a number of racketeering charges, among other things. So first, let's start out with this man's stage name, Lil Keed. Using the standard alphabetic order, the name Lil Keed sums to 58. This cipher numbered 1 through 26, each letter relative to its position in the alphabet. Measuring from Lil Keed's March 16th birthday to his death on May 13th gives us 58 days, matching the ordinal value of his stage name. Now, his death was on May 13th, which most of the world writes as 13/5. His death was circulating the mainstream outlets on May 15th, which is the 135th day of the year. May 15th is also the date of the 2022 total lunar eclipse, as visible from the Western Hemisphere. And May 15th, again, the 135th day of the year, is significant because lunar eclipse sums to 135 in the alphabetic order. Now let's look at a couple of the numbers associated with this eclipse. And the big one here is 131, as this eclipse came from lunar Saros, number 131. If you caught my video on the shooting at the Buffalo grocery store, you would have seen that this was a huge number in that ritual as well, where we were told that 13 people were shot, with 10 of them being killed. Remember, Buffalo is favored to win next year's Super Bowl. Super Bowl equals 131. It'll be the 57th Super Bowl, which also sums to 131. This was a number that was heavily coded into that event as well. Well, in the reverse alphabetic order, where the letter Z is assigned 1, Y is 2, all the way through A is 26, notice how the name Lil Keed also sums to 131. In fact, using English Gematria, Lil Keed equals 103 and then 31 in reduction. Lil Keed was born in the city of Atlanta, Georgia. In the alphabetic order, Atlanta, Georgia also has this value of 131. The mayor of Atlanta, Georgia, is currently Andre Dickens. And notice how he was sworn into office on January 3rd, which is the date written 1/3 or 3/1. Well, if you measure from that date, January 3rd, to the date of this death, it was exactly 131 days with the end date included. Looking back at this Buffalo shooting from over the weekend, it was at a grocery store called Tops. And as I pointed out, this was a riddle connected to the Super Bowl. Well, the name Tops reminded me of a trading card company who has certainly made plenty of products featuring Buffalo Bills players. And I thought it was interesting that Topps trading cards was also sold on January 3rd. Once again, 131 days before this shooting. In reverse reduction, the phrase ritual human sacrifice has a value of 131. And as we get towards the end of this video, we'll see how this phrase is heavily coded into this rapper's death. Lil Keed's real name was Rakeed Render. And notice how this name sums to 203 and 68. These are the same numbers in the ordinal value of total lunar eclipse. 203 and 68. As far as the 121 in the ordinal value of his name, that's the gematria of blood sacrifice, 121. So although he was born in Atlanta, Lil Keed died in Los Angeles. And the state of California has a homicide code, a very popular one, made famous by early 90s rap songs, a 187. A lot of people call homicides by this code, 187 in California. Rakeed Render's full name sums to 187 in the standard alphabetic order. If you flip the alphabet around, the phrase total eclipse sums to 187, the astrological event which occurred the same weekend he died. Notice how the city of Atlanta, his hometown, has the same 69 and 120 values as the word eclipse. Eclipse also equals 33, like the phrase or the word lunar. Lunar and eclipse both 69 and 33. Well, Atlanta sits on the 33rd parallel, one of the largest cities to do so. Its abbreviation ATL sums to 33. In mid-October of last year, a couple weeks before the World Series, I pointed out why it was likely that the Braves would win the World Series in Game 6, as it would be a riddle connected to the Great American Eclipses and the total solar eclipse of 2021. And it turned out this is exactly what happened. The Braves went on to win in Game 6, 33 days before this eclipse. Well, one of the big reasons I made this prediction is because that victory for the Braves was their 10,920th win in franchise history. In numerology, this represents the number 192. And the word eclipse equals 192 in the Jewish or Latin method. This cipher on the left side of your screen uses our current English alphabet, but pays more attention to the ancient Latin alphabetic order. And if you measure from the date that the Braves won the World Series to the date of Lil Keed's death from Atlanta, it was 192 days. So next we're going to talk a little bit about this record label that he was signed to, YSL Records, short for Young Stoner Life Records. And if you dig a bit into the history here, you'll find that there's a date given for the establishment of Young Stoner Life Records, November 15th of 2016. Well, measuring from that date to May 16th of 2022, which was the date of the eclipse in the rest of the world, you get a span of exactly 287 weeks. And in the language of Gematria, Young Stoner Life Records sums to 287 in the alphabetic order. Exactly 287 weeks later, we had this lunar eclipse. But there's actually a deeper riddle here with lunar eclipses that's ready to be uncovered. Notice how the gematria of this company, YSL Records, sums to 138. YSL Records was founded by rapper Young Thug. And in the alphabetic order, the name Young Thug also has this 138 value. And this number is significant to this man for a number of reasons. Check out his full name, Jeffrey Lamar Williams, which in the Sumerian method equals 1308. If you take only his common name, Jeffrey Williams, it's 1038. $138 is also the ordinal value of Donald Trump. And again, this label was founded November 15th of 2016, which was about 1 week after the election of Donald Trump as president. Donald Trump was born on June 14th of 1946, and on that same exact date, there was a total lunar eclipse. This year's lunar eclipse, from Saros 131, notice how this was the 34th eclipse of the Saros series, a Saros series lasting approximately a millennium. And this past one, over the weekend, was the 34th. Well, the eclipse that occurred on the date that Donald Trump was born was also the 34th of its Saros series. Scroll down here, 34, 1946, June 14, there it is. So it's very appropriate for there to be a heavy riddle for Donald Trump on this date. And consider how this is called Young Stoner Life Records, right? This is an obvious reference to marijuana. And marijuana sums to 34. Marijuana also equals 155. And that's a lot like the date 15/5, which is when this eclipse began. In the alphabetic order, marijuana also equals 88, like Trump. So a lot of connections there. And if you look at, I wish I had an example of this pulled up, but the marijuana bills that have been coming through the House are all coded with these 34 and 88 that we're looking at. So what solidifies this connection? Well, if you go down to Lil Keed's discography, notice how his debut record, Long Live Mexico, debuted on June 14th, which is Donald Trump's birthday. On that date, Donald Trump turned exactly 73 years old. And in ancient Jewish Gematria, Lil Keed sums to 73. On the same date that we got this news, the Braves lost by a score of 7-3. Notice how the word sacrifice equals 73. Just like ritual sacrifice. Also 73. Now, earlier we pointed out the gematria of ritual human sacrifice. We had this 131 connected to the Saros series of the eclipse. In satanic gematria, ritual human sacrifice sums to 911. And on the date that Lil Keed died, Donald Trump was a span of exactly 911 months old. In Jewish gematria, the name Donald has this 119 in it. Using the standard alphabetic order, ritual human sacrifice is 211, and measuring from the release of this debut record on Trump's birthday to his death was exactly 2 years and 11 months. Now, this same measurement, debut to death, is also 1,064 days. That's the gematria of Rakid Javan Render, Lil Keed, 1,064 in English gematria. On the date that he died, Young Thug, who owns this record label, was exactly 1,604 weeks old. When you measure between the birthdays of Young Thug and Lil Keed, you also get a heap of interesting numbers. 67 connected to blood sacrifice, 79 months connected to murder, also 2,404 days, 244 a big kill number in Hebrew. But I wanted to look at this measurement again. From the debut record to the death of Lil Keed, if we include the end date, this is also 1,065 days, right? And here we have the digits 165. Well, this lunar eclipse over the weekend ended on the 16th of May, 16/5. If you measure from the birthday of Young Thug to the birthday of Donald Trump, you get exactly 16,500 days. And Donald Trump's June 14th birthday, which is the same date that Lil Keed's debut came out, is the 165th day of the year. This is a number familiar to the Scottish Rite. I bring this up because Freemasonry and the record industry throughout American history has always been closely intertwined. Now, there's one more piece of this riddle I wanted to touch on. And this connects to the crucifixion of Jesus, which many historians believe occurred in the year 33 AD at the age of 33. Many people have picked out the date Friday, April 3rd of that year as the potential date. And on that date, looking back in history, April 3rd of 33, we noticed that there was a lunar eclipse on that date. Lil Keed was born on March 16th, the date written 316. Remember how John 3:16 is a famous Bible verse which explains why God sent his son Jesus to earth? 316 was also the date of the Atlanta spa shooting that we had last year. And again, Lil Keed from the city of Atlanta. In Hebrew Gematria, the word Jesus sums to 316. Well, in Jewish Gematria, Christ equals 290. This matches the reverse value of Eclipse sacrifice. And on the date of the eclipse, Lil Keed would have been exactly 290 months old. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.